Today, I am very pleased to welcome our speaker, Emily Newman, who will be speaking on changing the world using social media. Emily is the communications coordinator of the American Ethical Union, a member of the Future of Ethical Societies, and co-chair of the New York Ethical Communications Committee. She has been on Facebook since 2004. Let's welcome Emily.
Thank you. I guess I should check. Is this a good level? Everyone's good?
No, we want to see you.
Yeah, that's the challenge. Not my fault for the height, but I made pretty pictures that can replace my face. So, social media, just as it sounds, is all about how we as people connect to each other. We are all social people to some degree. We all connect through different forms of media, and yet the possibilities of how that happens has changed immensely over the years. When a study was done by socialmediaexplorer.com, they asked people to explain social media in 2 words. I chose some of my favorites. I think that gives you a pretty good idea of the spectrum that people perceive social media. We have citizen journalism, community building, time killer. Oh. Thank you. Oops. Hold on, pause. Okay. It's always something. That's okay. Is that okay with the video? Everyone's happy? All right, let's try that again. So we're all social to some degree. We use different forms of media. Social Media Explorer asks people to describe social media in 2 words. So I have citizen journalism, community building, time killer, ridiculously fun, shared narcissism, communal interaction, humans connected. So already I think you have an idea of how I'm going to go with some positive and negative, some using it for good, some why it's terrible. So what is social media? It all began, well, you could say it began when people started interacting with people, but let's go a little bit ahead with the internet. So obviously the internet was formed, some of you may remember that, and it was still kind of special because not everybody had access, not everyone had a computer, not everyone could tap in. Well, down the road, the first email was sent in 1971. Again, some of you may remember when you started having to use email or wanted to use email. Now that changed the way that you interacted with people who weren't right in front of your face. Well, we continue to develop, and now we can have websites that aren't just for rich companies, but now nonprofits, governments, schools, and even individuals can set up their presence online so that everybody can find them. And that becomes easier and easier as more are developed, and so it doesn't cost a lot. But the big main social media network that everyone considers the first was called 6 Degrees. And it started in 1997. So if you're familiar with like the game 6 Degrees, Kevin Bacon, or Separation, the idea is that you can be connected to almost anybody, potentially anybody, through 6 degrees. So sort of similar to looking up someone in the yellow pages. You're able to find who you know and then see who they know and maybe get to know that person that they know down the road. Social media continued to grow, especially in the early 2000s with Friendster, MySpace, which is especially big for musicians. Everyone, if you had a band, you had to have a MySpace account. And then Facebook developed, and Facebook has become kind of the giant. It's one of the biggest and oldest social media networks, and I'll get into why that is. But to give you, I'm pretty interested in metaphors, so to give you sort of an idea of how social media compares to realistic life. YouTube is full of videos, so that's kind of like the real world outside your door. Pinterest is like a vision board or a collage of different things. It's especially popular when you're planning a wedding. Apparently I've heard from many bridesmaids, that's where their brides make them go. LinkedIn is for looking for jobs and networking. They also have, with other forms like idealist.org, they have become more interactive by not just letting you search the database, but actually creating your own account. And then from that, you can message people and build a relationship outside of just posting a job or applying for it. Foursquare allows you to tell people where you are. It's especially big with companies. So if you say, hey, I'm at Dunkin' Donuts, and Dunkin' Donuts can tell that, you get usually some sort of gift certificate or free donut or whatever the deal is these days. Instagram, Imgur, there's several other ways you can just post your pictures up. Everyone's become a photographer now that their smartphones are actually a little bit better than some of the old-fashioned traditional ones. WordPress, which is used for many websites, is a blog system. Twitter, they're just like a Post-it, these short little 140 characters or less, because our attention span is so short, like just getting an idea out there. Even Twitter said that they're mostly for following people and seeing what's important and trending than necessarily getting long essays out the way that other groups can. Facebook has actually become more than just an address book, but that was the original purpose, about connecting people. Reddit is similar to Facebook, but a little bit more on the techie world and doesn't have as many features. Skype or conference calls always allow you to call people from everywhere. And Tumblr, which is similar to a blog, is growing as well. So you don't need to know all of these things. You don't need to be on these things, but it is good to be aware of what is out there. And that, I'll just go back for a second. These are some 15 of some of the more popular ones, but this is still only about 1% of what's out there, and that's not even including the defunct sites. But anyway, don't be scared. It's all good. It's meant to be fun. And Facebook has really figured out how to be fun because they keep on developing their system, adding more features, adding more reasons for you to connect. When I joined Facebook in college, it was a big deal because not every college student was even allowed to join. You had to have a school email from specific list of colleges, and then you were able to invite people, and that list grew. And by the time I was out of college, I believe it was not just for college students anymore, and all of a sudden our parents and people like we used to work with or going to work with and like younger siblings and cousins appeared. So you kind of had to figure out how you wanted to filter. It wasn't just about party pictures, it was about potential job photos. So with the original Facebook, they had the wall. So that was basically your account when you posted things. And only your friends could see your wall unless you made it more public. And then soon they developed in 2006 the news feed. So you didn't have to go to a friend's account to see what's going on with them because Facebook shared it with you as soon as you logged in. And you could, again, change your settings so you could decide which friends you want to see, which, as organizations and companies made pages, you could see which ones of those you wanted to see. But it was all there, kind of like the cover of a magazine or the homepage of a website. It kind of made, we joke, it made stalking easier because it was all in front of you. And then in 2012, they started the timeline, so sort of like a journal or a way that you remember, like a photo album. So not only are you able to continue to post things on Facebook, but Facebook now reminds you about what happened a year ago. And then you can decide to reshare that. Which is, again, kind of good and bad. You may like that memory. You may be going, why was this on here? How do I get rid of it? And then other people find those memories, so you may have forgotten something, but since they repost it, there it is again for everyone to see. Facebook has purchased other companies. They've tried different things, so like they allow you to now put in your location. They allow you to not just like something, but you have a whole range of emotions. So you can be angry, mad, sad, yada, yada. With the personal account, you can decide how much information you have on there. And one of the big things that happened was for gender, you no longer have to choose between just male or female. You don't have to choose in terms of what you're looking for in a relationship between looking for a man, looking for a woman. There are, I don't remember what the count is. It close to 100, there were like 40, 50, lots of different explanations so that you could choose what best identifies for you. So here's an image. This was actually a video. I decided not to do video here because there's just too many to choose from. But this is a video of Instagram. So at the time, this was just a screenshot. They were showing all these different pictures coming in. And Kevin Systrom, one of the co-founders of Instagram, explains to Time that the community of users that they've gathered have shown a real-time view of the world, but ultimately also how to change the world, what the world looks like. This idea that you are able to see things outside your window, outside your local news in real time, and know how you can then connect with those people. And we also, along with images, have done a lot with video. So as many of you are familiar with, you used to have TV, and if you missed what was on TV, you didn't see it again because there were no reruns because everything was new. Soon we had reruns, then we had on-demand options or video rental places, which was then kind of kicked out by Netflix. We have all these DVR options, and then we became even more up to date with semi-live. So for example, Snapchat allows you to take a brief video which only lasts for about 24 hours, and then it disappears. So you really have to be in the moment. We are able to take video with our phones. We're able to find video of pretty much anything with YouTube. Now if you've missed the Daily Show from last night, you can watch it the next day. If you possibly, like for example, watching the convention, you probably don't even have to watch the convention to know what's going on, because not only is everyone tweeting it, but they're taking video and sharing right now. And now we're getting into even more crazy real time. So several of the networks, including Periscope, Facebook, Twitter, even starting with Instagram, they're making it so you can do a live video. So as I am recording you, other people are watching it live. And also with Facebook, as with other groups, they're making it so much easier for you to watch a video. You don't even have to click on a video anymore because it starts to play just by scrolling over it. And you don't have to click on it to listen to it because most of them come with captions. So it makes it so much easier to watch a video when on the train or at work without bothering people, but it kind of makes it a little bit harder to pass by a video because it's like, oh, well, it's already started. Now I have an idea of what's going on. Maybe I want to see what the rest of it says. So who's on social media? The short answer is kind of everybody. They say about 93% of adults who are on the internet are also on social media. And what I find really interesting about this chart is it shows the increase for all ages. And yes, even the 65 plus, although we don't quite know if there's a cap in there anywhere. I'm sure this is going to look very different over the years as the millennials keep aging. But there's a big increase from 2005 to 2013. And they have shown all races are on social media, although there is usually a preference. The African American Latino population seems to like Instagram a bit more. All countries have access to, all countries that have access to the internet are on social media. And then now that there's a lot of issues over those who want more access, most income brackets, again, and occupation levels, again, it all depends on if you have access to the internet, but since smartphones and tablets and everything are getting more accessible, it's very more likely. So we now know that everyone is on it, but what do they do on it? Well, that's going to always change, especially due to who you hang out with and what you like to do in life. But the main reason most people are on is to stay connected with their closest friends, their family, possibly new friends. And later you kind of, smaller emphasis on possibly connecting about hobbies or reading from celebrities or finding a date. As we've developed social media networks, we've also allowed the companies and nonprofits that are on them to really get more involved. So they're not just saying, hey, we have this new product. They're saying, do you like the product? Would you share this product with other people? What would make you buy this product more? To make a real two-way communication and hoping to get the attention from social media into actual buyers or donors for nonprofits, supporters for a politician. We also have seen movements and campaigns develop. It's because social media provides easy access. So I'll get a little more into the campaigns and movements later, but I want to emphasize President Obama has been called the first White House social media ninja. And granted, he's had a lot of help from his staff, but he knows that in order to reach the masses, especially the young masses, you need to be on all of these different networks. So he even created an account on Snapchat. We've got an example down below of Facebook video, and then on the right of Twitter, along with the posts about his work in the White House. He also does personal stuff. He'll have a picture of him hugging Michelle or, playing with kids. There's endless material out there. And it's said that the Times has wrote that more than 600,000 Obama supporters followed through with more than 5 million contacts asking their friends to register to vote, give money, vote, or look at a video designed to change their mind. So there's a little peer pressure going along with all of his posts, because if people like it, they want other people to like it. Obama is constantly posting, and he's also interacting with people. On Twitter, they had hashtag Ask Obama. So whenever you type in Ask Obama, and you put in a question, he was able to see what your question was and respond to it. He also had a Google Hangout, which is like a video conference call. And on Reddit, he had Ask Me Anything session. So it's showing that he's really being open to getting himself outside of the White House, at least virtually, to interact with his people. So that all sounds great, but there is always a downside of social media. I have limited this section to this slide because I don't really feel like there's great images to go along with some of these things, and I don't want to condone any of these behaviors. So you just have to listen to me talk for a little bit. So less attention. The research has shown that our attention spans has been decreased to 8 seconds. And this is mostly for young people, but adults have also had a strong decrease. Yet there is an increase in internet and social media addiction. Researchers have found that social media might promote narcissism and depression, which leads to more social media use. So it's kind of a dangerous cycle. And they believe that's due to the idealized representation into the lives of their friends, or by spending too much time and feeling like they've had that time wasted. Harassing is always a big issue. We all know how bullying is a problem for children, but then for teenagers and adults, when you're able to say the hurtful things you can come up with and know you're not going to get in trouble or get in trouble automatically because they can't tie it back to you, it kind of makes it increase the odds of it happening. And there's a term called revenge porn, where especially for someone that have or are dating, when you start sharing images, they start sharing it publicly and blaming the other person for things. It has gotten kind of vicious, and there's a lot of question also about when it becomes kiddie porn, depending on the age of the teenagers and whose right it is to, once you give someone a picture, does that mean they have the ability to use that picture in any way? Of course, we would say no if it's used hurtfully. Another hurtful harassment is called catfishing, when if somebody pretends to be somebody else in order to trick you online. There's a whole MTV show about it. It's not a good show. I don't recommend watching it, but it is sort of sad to see the increased numbers of people that think that they're really connecting with somebody, only to find out that not only is it not the person they thought, but probably is a dangerous person that they should not meet in real life. Selfishness, I mean, that's kind of a tough thing to say, to blame completely on social media, but when you do have people constantly posting, feeling like they can vent about their problems, then and that people answer it, it grows. There's a running hashtag first world problems or white people problems, which kind of makes it sound like it's funny, but it also is sort of ignoring a lot of issues that our society is not facing. Depression, as I mentioned, this idea of unrealistic comparisons and peer pressure. There have been a lot of YouTube and Instagram famous people who have decided to quit social media because they can't handle the pressures anymore. And they've done kind of like an expose on themselves where they show, here's a great picture I took of me maybe modeling an outfit or making a beautiful meal. And then they explain all of the time and the heartache that went into actually getting that perfect picture. Maybe it's not really a meal they made, they lied about it, or they have like a messed up kitchen now and they've, after like 20 attempts to make this meal, maybe they're, with the outfit, they're actually pinning it in places and getting the right angle so that you don't see their problem areas. There are also a lot of challenges going on, especially in the modeling industry, to show how skinny you are. So you can have, how many quarters can you get to rest on your collarbone? Or can you get a marker to stick? I don't really understand it. Stick in a certain place. I kind of didn't really want to research that too much because it was weird. But it ends up being another form of body shaming, basically. There's also for bigger ladies, whenever they're seen, even if it's like a clip from a movie or TV show, people want to slam them and start ridiculing their body. Especially with celebrities, we see this, because if they're already getting attention for their looks, people feel like they have the right to make comments on those looks. The former Twitter CEO, Dick Costolo, has said in February 2015, "We suck at dealing with abuse and trolls on this platform, and we've sucked at it for years. I'm frankly ashamed of how poorly we've dealt with this issue during my tenure as CEO. It's absurd. There's no excuse for it." And that is, kind of expresses that even though Twitter and Instagram and Facebook have tried to make stronger policies to protect people, they also feel a little like they can't do anything, and they haven't figured out what to do yet, so it's frustrating on both sides. There's also concern of less privacy. Not only do we have your cyber footprint, so everyone can see what you've been doing, or not everybody, but too many people. There have been issues of hacking, as we've seen with both celebrity and politician emails. But also on a personal level, now that somebody takes a picture of you, whether you give your consent or not, they are able to post it and possibly tag you in it for other people to see. So whether it's something silly like just you weren't fully awake that morning and someone wanted to take your picture, or maybe they're taking a lot of pictures and not choosing what you would feel are the best ones. This is especially going to be interesting as we continue to grow, because you'll see a lot of pictures of children on there. Then obviously the children have not given their consent, and maybe they're very cute pictures, but there are also a lot of information about their growing pains being posted on there that they did not give a right to. So the good, let's lighten up a little. Of course, there is an entertainment value. There's endless stuff to read and see and hear, which is awesome. Again, it can be overwhelming. We have opportunities to connect and support each other, and not just friends and family, but other people that need that support, or finding social media as a way to ask for it, or maybe they don't subconsciously, they're asking for it because of what they're posting. A form of self-expression, because now you have a bigger audience to reach. This is especially important for those individuals that are in an area like the suburbs, that they don't feel like they have many friends, or they don't have people that understand them. So now they're able to reach out and connect with people in cities or in other countries, especially for anybody who feels marginalized due to gender association or sexual identity, race identity, financial status. They can find people that they can connect with. It's especially used for education, and this is something that was not necessarily meant, but has really grown out of social media, that we have been able to share facts. A lot of people get their main news from social media, and that has created awareness. So we are more aware of bigger issues and problems, or sometimes little issues that we don't realize how big they affect us, and then can then inspire people to act, whether it's donating, voting, calling, joining, etc. So I'm going to give some examples here. First of all, of course, the entertainment factor. There's it's referred to as food porn. There are a lot of people are posting all these recipes that they may or may not actually be making, but it's kind of cool to see how fast and easy it could be to make them. I have a couple of friends who are obsessed, who every single day I see their 10 shares of different alcohol concoctions, quick and easy, no-bake desserts, different food, to the point where my friend actually said, is anyone going to invite me over to eat these things? Because it looks really good. Do we actually make these ever? And then on the right, you have an example of wedding pictures. So you don't actually have to even be invited to the wedding to enjoy the moment and then share with them, especially because now it's popular to have a wedding hashtag. So it's easily searchable for your different announcements and pictures. My friend has hashtag Alex fits the bill, because she married someone named Bill. It's also an easy way, I mean, whilst we still use a lot of wedding photographers, it's kind of an easy way for people to then share their pictures. You've probably seen out of various functions, people taking their own pictures. So it's kind of helps the bridegroom or groom collect full memories of that event. There's another form of how it helps with entertainment. If somebody needs help, I've seen many times someone's lost their phone, and Facebook is the only way that they can connect with people. Message me your number and I'll save it, or I need to use Messenger until I get a phone back. Looking for a roommate, looking to sell something, asking, do I have any designer friends who understand how to find the font I want? That's definitely been used. I even had a friend recently say, does anyone understand Facebook ads? And I had just been looking that up, so I sent her all the information I had. So here's an example of how ethical culture communities have connected on social media. We have the Future of Ethical Societies, which is our 18 to 35-year-olds in the movement. And we are from across the country. Some of us grew up in societies, some came to them as adults. So we don't have the ability to see each other in person as much as someone from the New York Society gets to see someone else here. So we do have annual events, and here are some pictures of the projects. The left is a project we did in New Orleans during winter break one year. The top right is cleaning up a river in North Carolina, and then just a random, group selfie to show how we love each other. But we do have a Facebook group and a page, and with the group, what's really important to me is how we've been able to share life's joys and sorrows. So we'll say things like, I just entered a contest so I can get a scholarship for school. Can everyone vote for me? Or can someone donate to this? This documentary really inspired my life. I think you all should see it. I'm doing a platform this Sunday. Maybe you guys, should come. All these different things that connect us with each other, the issues we find important, and also the ethical culture movement. Meetup is another way to find people. You can connect with local groups, you can connect around interest groups. The New York Society has a meetup, so you can get constant reminders of the different events going on. You'll see this is a screenshot of my meetup account. So I have the New York Society, the currently developing Atlanta Society, Brooklyn Society, and Sunday Assembly, which usually meets in our building. And then they have different suggestions of other places, other groups that I may like because I have friends in those groups or because they're in my area or on similar topics. So it especially is important. I've seen people use it when they move to a new city and they need to find their new community and get out of the house to do something. Here is an example of a meme that I made. A meme, for those who have not been on social media, is basically an image with text, usually used to be funny, often used to be inspiring. You'll often see celebrity quotes being used. I kind of made my own little local celebrity here. Betty Levin is a member of the Essex Society in New Jersey, and she won one of the Anna Garland Spencer Volunteer Awards at the Assembly last year. She had a beautiful quote, and I found the beautiful picture of her from that event and decided to stick it together, post it online, after getting her permission, of course, and really share it, because I don't think many people do get to really see, when these moments at these events, or hear from individuals who have been in the movement for a long time. And it was also nice because when I asked for her permission, I got to chat with her a little bit, and she after asking what is social media, what is Facebook, she then said, oh, and if you get any messages from some single men, let them know that I'm available. So she's kind of, already thinking about how to use it for good. Facebook has especially been pushing people to vote. So you'll see on the right-hand side, that's a post after announcing and reminding people to vote for the EU referendum on that Friday, June 3rd. There seemed to be a real big boost in people registering and voting. We can't say it's all due to Facebook. It certainly could be strongly due to them, but we've also noticed this happening in the 2012 USA election, where researchers estimate that Facebook directly increased turnout by about 60,000 votes, but a further 280,000 people were indirectly nudged to the polls by seeing messages in their news feeds telling them that their friends had clicked the I voted button. So again, there's that peer pressure element, that awareness. Some people don't even know what day it is, but since they're looking at Facebook anyway, now they have that extra reminder, and they see that everyone's sharing it and want to be a part of that. This has also been true with the sharing to get people to get to know the candidates. Many people have been very strong about their interest in specific candidates. So Facebook made a video encouraging people to share their opinions on candidates and learn from others. It started out as a let's not fight, let's all, be friends, but it kind of became a use Facebook more to push your interest in the election. We also have examples of when tragedies strike. So many of you, of course, were here for Hurricane Sandy in October 2012. I was in California at the time, so it was very big for me to see on my social media what was going on. I found out which friends and family did not have electricity and had to use Facebook to communicate, although I'm not sure how they managed to save electricity for their Facebook, but those, some people asked for help. Or needed help to find each other. The government made sure to inform people about evacuations and shelters right away. And here are just a couple of examples. So you've got, Bloomberg giving information, people sharing images, organizations deciding how they can gather support. So social media has allowed us to become aware of current tragedies, locating people, learning how to help, showing solidarity. And one of the important things to note also was that the government used both English and Spanish for their posts. So it's showing that everybody, we could need a couple more languages, but they were trying to get everybody the information that would be useful. Another example of a tragedy was the Boston Marathon bombing. Again, this was very important with social media because we didn't even know where people were. I had a lot of people in Boston that are big runners. So it was kind of tough doing the research for this and seeing all the pictures and being reminded of that panic that we had. Are you there? Yes, I'm here, but I'm volunteering, I'm safe. Are you there? No, I decided to skip it, but I'm gonna go donate blood. Are you there? Yes, this is so-and-so's friend, I found this person, she is okay. It was a big deal, and that's where elements of tagging somebody so that it connects to their profile, or putting that hashtag so you can search, was very important. It also ended up leading to concerns in the country about terrorism. So it was important for individuals of the Muslim faith to stand up and say, I am against this act, and it's a terrible tragedy. And then social media also ended up helping the cops find people. Unfortunately, there was that concern of finding the wrong person at first. So there is an importance of finding correct information, which is why organizations like the Red Cross have developed a stronger plan. This is a slide from Social Media and Disasters, Best Practices and Lessons Learned Disaster Preparedness Summit in August 2013. It's a very busy slide. I won't get into it. It's very easy to find it if you just search for the Red Cross. But I love how this kind of summarizes what the whole presentation they do is, because it's not just about, you send out that the organizations need to send out the right announcements to get information to people, but it's also be aware of misinformation, be aware of how people are finding information. Should we set up a new text alert plan? Do we need to set up charging stations? I know Cory Booker had offered his house as a charging station during Hurricane Sandy, and that's helped get people aware of how they can use their available resources. It also just kind of, there are other examples on the top right side about other tragedies or emergencies. So one concern I didn't know about is when humans are in danger, their pets are even in more danger, especially when it comes to flooding or fires. So a more recent issue was the Orlando shooting, and here social media played a strong role during the shooting, where people are messaging people where they are, we need help. Some of them are saying their final goodbyes. Then for afterwards, as it came to finding out more about the attackers, again here you have an image of the news showing the victims and making it important that we don't forget who was lost there and why they were lost. And especially since it happened around Pride this year, everyone was showing their support for Pride. And so there is, here I have an image from Tel Aviv and the LAPD, and showing that everyone was around for the wounded community and not going to let, or trying to not let it happen again. But tragedies do happen, and unfortunately they happen very frequently for veterans. So for those of you that go to the Leader Lunch discussion, you read this article about veterans' buddy check on 22. The number 22 has arisen because research has found that about 22 suicides happen each day. So on the 22nd of each month, they do a buddy check on social media, where my veteran's at, and everyone is hoped to check in and say how they're feeling and say how they're doing or ask for help. They have various groups online to keep the communication going, so it's not just a monthly alert. They have these, so right here is the small image is the profile picture they use, and then the background, the cover image is that big one about suicide is not the problem, 22 per day think it is the solution. They also have other projects like 22 push-up challenge to raise awareness of suicide danger and try to fight against it. A big campaign that happened in the summer 2 years ago was the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge. Again, we see how peer pressure can force people to do good. The challenge was that you had to pour a bucket of ice cold water, usually with ice in it, over your head, and then challenge 3 or so other people to do it as well. If they did not do it, they were supposed to donate to ALS. I believe you're supposed to donate a little bit, even if you did do it, but you're supposed to donate more if you didn't do it. They did notice not everyone donated, but people made up for that, and a lot of people who didn't want to do it just paid extra. But it did raise awareness about the disease, which is often referred to as Lou Gehrig's disease, and not only about the importance of getting money for treatment, but a lot of people didn't even understand how serious the disease is, especially as it continues. So 17 million people participated, 2.5 million people donated, and the total came out to about $220 million. 1 million of that went to research, and we found out recently that they have identified a gene associated with the disease, so we are getting closer to understanding how it occurs. CNN reported in 2015 that the association has developed 5 different areas to spend the money raised. So along with the research, there's patient and community services, public and professional education, fundraising, and external process fees. So along with the information that we got about ALS and how to help it, we've also saw celebrities taking it as an additional challenge to bring up other issues that need our support and money. One example is Orlando Jones, who instead of doing ice water, he took a bucket full of bullets and poured it over his head. He did say, don't do this at home. He kind of gave the warning, but when this happened around the time of the beginning of Black Lives Matter, seeing the deaths of Trayvon Martin, and I wish I remember exactly when Orlando did it, so I don't remember exactly how many deaths there were. Too many, of course. But his big thing was, even though he is a card-carrying member of the NRA, that does not mean that he is for gun violence and that we need to speak up against it. And that got people thinking of how can we use this simple social media challenge, which many people even laughed at because of course you're going to want to throw a bucket of cold water on your head during the summer, but to really see how we can challenge ourselves to do more and help each other. And of course there's Black Lives Matter, which started with a hashtag online and has continued on. There is only so much I can say in this time, and I know you've had other platforms and there are many other ways you can hear about it, but I did want to give a little summary that hashtag Black Lives Matter was founded in 2013 by Patrisse Cullors, Opal Tometi, and Alicia Garza to raise awareness and action against systemic racism and violence against Black people. And while it's been greatly contested, I think that the fact that we are much more aware of the daily interactions between Black people and cops, and now we are more aware of how do we find the right information and lead to the right resolutions, has been growing for many years. The Millennial Activists United, which is on the right, they recently were awarded the Elliott Black Award at the American Ethical Union Assembly. And they have been a strong push on social media to get attention. They not only are posting on social media, but they're organizing people to go to rallies and to speak up. At their acceptance speech, they mentioned that it's not about white people or people who have not been racially attacked. It's not about us being allies, it's about us being comrades and really active participants speaking up against these issues. Other hashtags that grew were white privilege means, where it really shows not just that that we have to say Black Lives Matter, but we also have to say white privilege exists and is all around us and is detrimental to our society. Hands up, don't shoot. I can't breathe. And on the bottom, I have an example just started, actually by one of my friends in the movie business. He got a bunch of his celebrities together to all do a PSA, hashtag someday is today, and it's specifically about police brutality and violence against Black people. There's an interesting platform done by someone at the Ethical Society of St. Louis on October 25th called The Ferguson Story, Social Media's Impact on the News. Again, this is why I only have a little bit of time, so I didn't want to go into his whole list, but what he does emphasize as a writer for the Huffington Post is how social media made it so much faster and easier to get information out there, but that's not always the right thing because a lot of false information happened, especially in Ferguson, where there were concerns about lies being brought up by people. For example, hands up, don't shoot was not what was actually said, but that doesn't mean it's not a strong statement to rally behind. Concerns about due process for the police, all these concerns that we need to kind of take into consideration because there is not necessarily one clear-cut answer to how to use social media to assist a community. How can we use social media better is always a good question we should be asking ourselves. Whether you are personally on it, just semi-aware of it, know people on it, you'll see now that on the news, they'll mention of responses and tweets and posts from people when they have someone speaking. No longer are they just saying name and title. They're also giving you usually a way to interact with that person. So I really want to emphasize that as an individual, you should know what you want to do. Whether you want to just socialize with loved ones, if you want to go onto Facebook and just look at pictures of your grandchildren, go for it. If you want to educate and possibly even confront people about the issues that you know about and find important, yes, go for it. Hopefully using facts and not opinions. Hopefully using links and sources to explain your opinions. If you want to go there to learn about or find new interests, you will be amazed with what you learn about. And depending on what search terms you use or what people you connect with, it's going to be fascinating. If you want to entertain yourself and others, be careful of your time limits, especially for children. They talk about limiting screen time. You also wouldn't want everything you talk about with people to be just, hey, I read this on Twitter, or did you see this on Facebook? You want to have other life experiences, but definitely bring the joys of the world onto social media and the joys of social media out into the world. So once you decide what you want to do, you kind of figure out your brand, your purpose on social media. It's very important to know how to do that. Don't spread yourself thin and feel like you have to be everywhere at one time. You are human. Social media is not. So it's important to choose your networks, manage your notifications. I know my aunt is very annoyed with all the emails that Facebook sends her, and I tell her, you don't have to get those emails, and her eyes lit up. What? So it takes a little bit of exploring in settings, and maybe you want to nudge a younger person to show you the way. That's fine. But there is a lot of customization that you can use. I also would recommend that you figure out how you want to delete or filter unwanted people or content. And I know this is a little bit of a touchy subject when you get into the idea of censorship, but if someone is cursing at you on your profile, you have every right to get rid of that person, both in unfriending them or deleting their posts. You can even report them if you want Facebook to take more action on this person. If you are organizing or managing a social media account for your work, then you may want to have you may want to talk to other people about your rules. But yes, if somebody is trying to push your organization to say certain things that don't represent you or bad-mouthing you, then you should figure out a way to handle that instead of just letting it stay out there in the universe. But always, most importantly, is be respectful to all. If you use social media in a positive way and encourage people to do so, the odds of them doing that back to you greatly increase. Be the role model that you wish to see. Elicit the best in others as you would have them do unto you. We can use a lot of ethical culture goodness in everything we do in social media. But I also want to add a little plug. If you want to get involved with ethical culture, or if you just find that you're interested in a lot of the ethical concerns of our day, check out the New York Society for Ethical Culture social media networks. On the left side, we're on Facebook, Meetup, Twitter, YouTube. We're also on Instagram, but I don't use that too much, so I don't know. Then the American Ethical Union, which I manage, has Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. We will make sure to put up a lot of informative educational things that inspire you to action, as well as connecting you with the other people here so you can share your thoughts, you can hear other thoughts and then respond. And then even more of a plug, if you are interested in being an active member of our social media team here at the New York Society, please send a Facebook message to the New York Society Facebook page. We are looking at ways to improve our communication. We did a survey not too long ago for the members, and we found that more of our newer members or people that are visiting us find us on social media than our current members are active on social media. So it is important that we share the awesomeness that goes on in this building with the awesome people out there who don't even know that they're looking for us. And so we would like to start that conversation, figure out that plan, and if you would like to be part of that, please send us a message. That's my